Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches por la hora que sea. Bienvenidos a mi livestream otra vez. Spanish Nerd Livestream. Todavía I have no idea how to say nerd in Spanish, but I need to ask someone really quick because it's very important to me. Muy importante para saber. Entonces, la primera cosa que voy a hacer is do a little reflection of what I studied the previous week, this past week here. La última semana o la semana pasada. Y for all those who are joining in, bienvenidos. Y don't forget to answer the question in the chat here. What would you say your level of Spanish is at? I'm going to say, for me, advanced at the moment. But that can mean a lot of different things depending on what, I guess, just depends on how you want to define what advanced is. But I would say I'm advanced. I also say I'm fluent in Spanish, but that's also up for debate. So the first thing that I did last week to study Spanish was my bachata class. And I'm very happy that I can actually say that and still count that as being a part of my Spanish studies because that is extremely fun. Being able to learn Spanish while dancing, exercise, and then also communicate with Spanish speakers. So on one side, I'm able to, oh, 1 second here. On one side, I'm able to listen to Spanish music a lot and be able to try to memorize the words that I'm listening to. And then listening to multiple genres of music. So that's really fun. But in this case, just for my bachata class, listening to bachata music. So I'm listening to a lot of the same songs over and over again, week after week, and I'm learning a lot of vocabulary that way. And then also, I get to listen to Spanish coming from my instructor because he speaks Spanish and he also speaks English as well. So, depending on, well, actually, it doesn't really depend on like who we have within our class. Usually, just speaks. He speaks a little bit of both. So he speaks Spanish and he speaks English. I like when he speaks Spanish a lot because he speaks it like really fast. It's not like diluted or anything like that. But he speaks really fast and he speaks it just with his accent. So it's pretty cool. And then I'm learning a ton of vocabulary related to dancing, how to guide somebody when they're dancing. That's something that's completely new to me, never done before. And then, like, por ejemplo, for example, telling your dance partner to levantar la mano. So like to raise your hand because maybe you have to like grab it. So como yo voy a agarrar tu mano, I'm going to grab your hand or something like that. Or da un giro to turn. So telling someone to turn around, to spin. So that's kind of cool. I like being able to do that in Spanish. I want to be able to instruct someone how to dance completely in Spanish. That's kind of like my goal right now. So learning a lot of vocabulary related to giving instructions and then also like all the different movements. So like giro is a turn, and then como línea básica, algo así, línea básica or la salsa básica. That is just like the main type of dance that they do. So that's just como uno, dos, tres, cinco, seis, siete. But for bachata, it's como like with bachata, it's kind of like the same thing, but it depends on the pacing of the song as well. If the pacing is really fast, I mean, you kind of do the same exact steps, but the pacing is just be very different. But usually it's just like uno, dos, tres, and then you like tap once with your outside leg, and then you lift up your hip, and then you go to the other side and do the same exact thing. For all those who are coming in, bienvenidos. Don't forget to answer the question in the chat that we have here. What would you say your level of Spanish is at? Beginner, intermediate, advanced, in between levels, or some other one completely different? I would say mine is advanced, but that's very subjective. I always like to think that I'm an advanced Spanish learner. But right now, I'm just talking about what I've been studying the past week, and I started off the week with my bachata class, my bachata dance class, and that's one method that I'm using for the first time actually in my life for learning Spanish. So I never danced before, but but like the past few months, I've been learning to dance. So that's been an interesting experience, and that would have never happened if I wasn't learning Spanish, because that's like the main reason why I even went to this place to dance in the first place. Was talking to some of my Spanish speaking friends, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you ever heard this discoteca before?" I'm like, "Oh no, I've never been there before." So they ended up going. But they're like discotecas are like a hot spot if you didn't know to meet Spanish speakers. So that's been really fun. I've been meeting people like literally from seemed like almost every single Spanish speaking country. From I've met people from Cuba, from Costa Rica, from La República Dominicana, from Mexico, from Nicaragua, or else from Puerto Rico. So I'm meeting a lot of different people. It's been really fun, and listening to everybody's accent and everything's kind of cool. They have all these different Spanish speakers from different countries all in one place. So it's definitely a good place to meet new people. Number one, meet new people, make some new friends. You know, learn Spanish, learn from people, learn about the culture, and just work on your communication skills. Because it's kind of difficult to speak with another Spanish speaker when you never met them before. Like for the first time, I'm always nervous. Every single time I'm speaking in Spanish, I'm usually nervous, but especially when I meet someone for the first time because it's completely nerve wracking. And I usually mumble and I usually fumble over my words and like everything's all slurred. Espero que está funcionando bien. Yeah, but then also in my bachata class, there usually are my bachata class or my salsa classes, but I mean for last week my bachata class, there's usually a decent amount of Spanish speakers that I can talk to. So that's really fun. So I'm getting used to having that initial conversation. So like when you meet a person for the first time, that type of conversation, like those ones for me are usually pretty difficult. But when I get to know the person a little bit more, I get more comfortable speaking Spanish, then it becomes a lot easier for me. And then after my bachata class, I continue listening to bachata basically all night long. I mean every single day, all week long. I'm listening to bachata usually. So that's a big part, I would say, of my Spanish studies during the week. But I don't do a lot of like some people they study lyrics. That's how they learn Spanish. With music, they study lyrics. They try to understand all the slang that's being used within the song. That's something I don't necessarily do. I usually just like listen passively. So I listen for fun, and I mean I think that works fairly good for me. I'm not going to understand 90% of like the words or anything like that. And I might not even understand, I would say even 50% sometimes of some Spanish songs that I listen to. But, at the very least, I get to dance. At the very least that I'm exposing myself to the sounds, of a Spanish speaker. And for me, that's enough. And being able to listen to different instruments and things like that, music that's completely different from not completely different, but fairly different from music within my country. So like doing that a lot. Listen to Spanish music, listen to bachata during the week. I have memorized some songs this year. I think they're mostly all salsa songs, but not a bachata. Some songs I can memorize the lyrics pretty easily, and other ones I can't, just because I don't understand what they're saying at all because of their accent, but then also because of the slang. But then some songs I'm able to understand. I'm able to understand fairly well. It's not that difficult. But I don't usually try to study Spanish music. I don't usually try to study like the lyrics of a Spanish song. It's fun. I mean, I would say not that in depth. So I will study it so I can actually be able to sing along. But I'm not going to go to the point of let me try to find like the origins of each of these words and understand the whole backstory and the artist and all that. I don't do that too much. Sometimes I might look up a little bit of the artist just to kind of see what other type of music that they play and things like that, and other albums that they have. But I don't go too deeply into like their whole life story, and I don't do too much journaling about like songs that I've learned either. I haven't really done that before, but it's something that I could do. But I think it would be helpful at the very least to talk about, or to like journal, for example, journal about the music that I'm listening to, what I like about it, because that kind of talking about music for me is a little difficult. I would say I only know the basics. I don't get too deep when it comes to like music, vocabulary wise. I just say, oh, me gusta, me encanta esta canción por el ritmo, por los instrumentos, por el cantante, cosas así, pero no es tan, no sé, no es tan detallada. Es súper, súper básico. Pero lo básico no es malo. It's something that I keep telling myself, like, oh, ¿qué pasó? Okay, estamos aquí. So that's what I've been telling myself that a lot, that the Spanish that I speak, there's nothing really wrong with it. No matter if I'm, saying just like basic phrases, like simple phrases, nothing wrong with that at all. Because it's what I know. So I will use the Spanish that I know. I will speak and communicate with the Spanish that I know, and I won't beat myself over it. So that's the best way to go about that. So that's with bachata and music. I always listen to music throughout the week, and not just bachata. But apart from bachata, qué más hice? Déjame ver. Apart from bachata class, listen to Spanish music. I also been trying to think in my Castilian accent. That's been kind of difficult to do, primarily because, well, I don't usually think with an accent too much. It's very strange to explain, but you can definitely like think with a particular accent. So not if you think about it, it's almost like if you imagine your friend talking to you in your head and you can hear their voice, not like, hear their voice or hear the way that they speak, in your head. It's just like that. But then, but you're the one who is, thinking in Spanish and then thinking with that particular accent. So that for me has been very challenging because it's actually like the first time I'm doing that, attempting to do it, like while being conscious of it. I don't know if I was doing it beforehand, but now I'm actually trying to do it on my own so I can develop this Castilian accent some more. That's also been very difficult. I haven't done too much studying to develop my accent this week with a Castilian accent. I haven't watched too many videos, unfortunately. A few, but not a lot. I need to develop my vocabulary. That's for sure. I need to increase the amount of vocabulary I know, like the amount of slang from Spain. I need to increase that a lot so I can start to sound more like a Spanish speaker from Spain. That helps out a lot. Vocabulary, I would say, like the most. The accent, like you'll get over time, but the vocabulary is definitely massive. It's very different. The sentence structure and all that. That's very different. So that's something that I'm trying to focus on right now for the end of the year because it's coming up quick, and I want to make sure that I develop it some more. I've been very lazy this year. I think I started. I think I started my journey with Spain, like I think in the beginning of June, and I haven't made too much progress. So I need to start. I need to start focusing that a little bit more. Bienvenidos if you're just arriving in. Thanks for coming. If you haven't responded to the question in the chat, make sure you do that. What would you say your level of Spanish is at? I say I'm advanced. I say that I am a fluent speaker in Spanish, but subjective. I haven't taken any tests. That's just me saying it. I hope I am. I hope I am to other people, but well, I mean, not necessarily hope, but I can't. At least for myself, hope that then I'm able to communicate in Spanish the way that I want, and only in Spanish. So apart from that, trying to think with an accent, I'm going to do I'll think with all my accents. So I'm not just going to think with my Castilian accent. I'm going to try to think with my neutral accent, with my Dominican accent as well, to the best of my abilities throughout the week. And hopefully that goes well. So we'll see. Pero depende de mi esfuerzo con mi acento. And then as well, I need to make sure that I finish my book by the end of this year. As another big goal, I probably read only maybe like 3 pages this week or last week, which is pretty embarrassing for me. But I mean, honestly, it shouldn't be embarrassing at this point because there's nothing new. I've been doing that for a while. Just not being consistent and taking a long time to finish this book, or like even to read just like a few pages. But Corazón tan blanco, por Javier Marías, escrito por Javier Marías. So, an autor de España, an author from Spain. So that's also why this book really interests me and why I really want to finish it, because it's going to have a lot of vocabulary, or maybe it will. I don't know if it does like 100%, but vocabulary from Spain and the way that they speak there. So I mean, already I've encountered a lot of Spanish words that I've never seen before, and I don't remember how old this book is. I can't remember how old it is. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. No, it's not. Let's see. No, it's not that old. So, but yeah, there's a lot of vocabulary that I am not familiar with at all with this book. But I say for the most part, I understand. I understand what's going on, but it's just kind of some words you don't understand, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I have a plan to finish this book by the end of this year, but basically I just got to be consistent. That's the main thing, and make sure that I pick a way to study. And there's multiple ways, or not study, but read it. I really want to read this with more detail, like analyze it a lot. But what I've realized is that's going to be that kind of takes a lot of time that I don't really have. And if I do want to finish it, I'm going to have to go a different route and just kind of read the book for fun. So like just read it normally and just try to understand as much as I can, but not take too much notes, not underlining and all that kind of stuff, but just kind of going through it. Because even if I do it with this method, I'm still going to learn a decent amount of vocabulary I get this way, because of repetition. I'm going to see words over and over again. And then as well with the grammar structure, I'm going to be seeing different sentence structures. And then over time, I'll be able to kind of that will make sense to me. So that's also something that I really want to do. As well, I don't know if I can read 2 books by the end of this year. That will be it won't be like necessarily like really challenging. The other one I think is about 300 pages as well. The other book that I want to read, I kind of forgot the name. It's kind of long. Como yo no soy tu hija mexicana perfecta, algo así. Yeah, I mean, I would just have to finish this one pretty fast and dedicate, some time every single day to read this book, and then the same thing with the other book too. So that would be the plan, and it would be less time listening to Spanish music, less time watching like YouTube videos and things like that, and really getting focused on listening, or I mean, on reading that book, because that's a lot. I think sometimes I waste my time like that. I'm like dancing around. I'm dancing to bachata. I'm dancing to merengue. I'm dancing to la salsa, instead of like sitting down and studying other things I need to study, like French, or like in this case like the Castilian accent. I could be studying that a lot more. Let's see what else. So working on the Castilian accent, Dominican accent. I'm not doing anything very intensive for that right now. Primarily with the Dominican accent, and I mean the dialect, like, just the vocabulary and the slang, the colloquialism from this country. I'm primarily just talking with my friend who is from the Dominican Republic, so I'm not really trying to do like write down like a whole bunch of new words and phrases or anything like that too much, unless it's like during our conversation. But I'm not trying to watch a lot of YouTube videos from the DR too much right now. I just want to focus on the Castilian accent, since I have a grasp, at the very least, a grasp of the other Dominican, like the way that they speak, their their mannerisms, and let's see what else, like the rhythm, their cadence, and everything like that. So for me, it's not super. It wouldn't be super difficult to kind of get back into that and try to develop that accent some more. But that's why I want to start focusing a lot with the Castilian accent. So because I'm like a baby with that accent and with all the vocabulary, so it's just kind of difficult for me to start to remember all these new words, and then also trying to comprehend what Spanish speakers from Spain are saying, and then also being able to write like them, being able to speak like them, and use their jargon. So that is something that I really want to focus on, because I just been way too lazy with that this year. Now with Cuba, same thing as with like the DR. I'm not doing anything super intensive to to study like the culture from Cuba. I'm mostly just talking with my friends from Cuba, and that's about it. I still have a lot of struggle trying to understand what they're saying. A lot. Like sometimes I probably only understand 80% still, 90%. Oh, no, sorry. I don't understand 80% of what they're saying. I don't understand 90% of what they're saying to me. Or especially when they're in a group. If they're in a group, if there's like a group of Cubanos, then more than likely I don't understand what in the world they're talking about because I'm still not used to their accent. I'm not used to the all the words that they're saying, and I'm still trying to figure out why. I don't know. I always thought like Cuba. I always felt like their accent was supposed to be neutral, but apparently it's not. So for me, their accent has been pretty challenging to understand, especially when it's spoken fast. When it's spoken fast, then I'm out of that conversation at that point. It's been a challenge. And then also I don't like that feeling when I'm trying to communicate with them and they can't oh no and I can't sound like them. I can't imitate exactly how they sound, because I'm not used to this accent whatsoever. It's my first time meeting Cubanos for the first time in my life, and I'm not there yet. I can't start to imitate them yet, because I just haven't been around them enough. I haven't been listening to them enough. So that's one thing that I'm trying to improve this year as well, is trying to at the very least be able to understand them, and then once I get past that stage, maybe being able to understand 50% of what they say instead of just 10% of what they say, then I can start to work on the accent a little bit, and start to understand more of the different like colloquial words and phrases that they use in Cuba. And I know some of them, but not a lot. Y bienvenidos. Welcome everybody who's coming in. Thanks for coming. I'm just talking about doing a little reflection about what I studied last week, or how I studied rather. And if you haven't answered the question in the chat, make sure you do that. What would you say your level of Spanish is at? I have mine as advanced. So I have a decent amount of Spanish conversation throughout the week. Thankfully, I have a lot of Spanish speakers within my community, so that is has been amazing for me to be able to basically practice basically almost like wherever I go. Like the last time, I went to a store one time, to a shoe store, and then I bought some shoes completely in Spanish, and that was like the first time I really did that, at least in the States. So that was really fun, like a really proud moment for me. And let's see what else. There at the like a grocery store, there's Spanish speakers, discotheque, of course, there's Spanish speakers, barber shops. So there's a lot of different ways that I can practice different vocabulary in that way. I've never gotten a haircut before in Spanish. That's one thing I'm actually very scared about because number one, it's my hair, and number two, I feel like I'm going to say something incorrectly. I'm going to say something wrong, and it's just like, oh no, I didn't ask for this, or whatever the case may be. Or I'm scared, like, oh, they won't hear what I'm saying to them because I lack a lot of vocabulary when it comes to talking about hair. Like, I don't know how to talk about different styles of hair, for example. Like, I know this is como es un afro, but like apart from that, I don't know how to talk about different ways to cut your hair. Like, or if they ask me a question when I'm sitting down, he's like, if they ask me something like, oh, como quieres esto, or algo así, o quieres hacer deseno, and I feel like I'll be scared to say something wrong. I'm like, I don't know what you just said, and then like my hair is just like gone completely or whatever. So that's one place I've never spoke Spanish in a barbershop or else. Movie theater, never done that before in a movie theater, but I'm sure there's Spanish speakers here that work at a movie theater. Trying to think of where else, but yeah, at the gym, Spanish speakers. So it's been a lot of fun. I met Cubanos. I met Cubanos at the gym. I've met Mexicanos. I've met Dominicanos. I've met una hondureña, una mujer, a woman from Honduras, and I think that's mostly it. I mean, that's a lot of countries. uh, okay, we have intermediate. You would say your level of Spanish is intermediate. Hola. Why would you say your level of Spanish is intermediate? And I hope escucha está bien. Porque no soy seguro si se escucha bien. Ojalá que sí. Y si no, qué vergüenza. Because I don't think it showed beforehand. But speaking with Spanish speakers is one thing that I do a lot throughout the week, and that helps me out a ton. I would say speaking with Spanish speakers has helped me out the most over studying like just studying grammar books or even reading. I would say a lot just having constant communication with Spanish speakers because with them, if I'm speaking to someone who speaks Spanish, I can ask them questions about any kind of grammatical rules or whatever. Maybe they won't know everything, but most of the time they can explain to me when I'm saying wrong. So that's why I like speaking with Spanish speakers a lot because I mean that's kind of what it's all about. If you're learning Spanish, is communicating with native Spanish speakers. Derek M. Where would Derek M says where would you suggest a person could or should go to try to interact and practice or have a conversation in Spanish? Can y'all hear me all right? And then with La Miss, let me see. Let me double check. Nice. I mean, there's plenty of places that you can go within your own community, or you can do it all from your home too. It kind of depends on on what you want. If you don't have many Spanish speakers within your community, then I would highly suggest your computer or your phone. So there's plenty of language exchange applications these days and websites that you can use to connect with Spanish speakers. So that's something that's pretty easy to do. I've used Hello Talk. I started to use Tandem a little bit this year, but it's about the same, I would say, the app wise, except for with Hello Talk. Okay, you can hear me. All right, good. So you like to go out of your house? Okay. So one thing here, I'll write it down in the chat here. Meetup. So this is really good. This is something that I've actually used myself this year as well. Meetup is a website where you can, like I says, meet up with different groups. People post different groups. You can meet up and do different activities together. Like there might be one for hiking. There could be one for drawing, painting. Where I was living beforehand, they had different groups for Spanish speakers. So it's like I forgot exactly what the word was. I think it's like a language exchange basically that I went to. So it was a group of people. I went to like I think two or three different events. They were free. We all came together in a coffee shop. We grouped some tables together and we were all just speaking Spanish. So this group was really awesome because it was yep, it's a website. So if you go to meetup.com, you'll see. Oh, let me double check. I think I'm pretty sure it's Meetup. Yep, it's Meetup. Yeah, so like go to meetup.com and then like look up Spanish conversation. Look up Spanish conversation or maybe language exchange and then see if you have any of that within your city. It's going to vary, city to city if they do have those types of events. Yep. So I've been to a few of those, and like the first time that I went, it was amazing because it was literally a mixture of people. There was people from the U.S. And people who migrated from Europe. There was like a Russian woman. She was, I think, in her like 40s or 50s. There were some other people who were in their 50s. Some other people who were retired. So that was pretty interesting to be able to talk with them in Spanish, all different levels of Spanish as well, all different levels of Spanish speakers as well. So that's something that I would definitely recommend using if you would like to interact with, or at least say use your Spanish, speak with native Spanish speakers and non-native Spanish speakers, because you can definitely utilize non-native Spanish speakers as well to practice your Spanish with. They don't have to be just Spanish speakers. That's something that I've realized. I used to bag on it all the time. I used to say, "Oh no, it's not useful to speak with non-native Spanish speakers to increase your Spanish skills." But honestly, you actually really can, and that would be a good video actually. What's the difference between speaking with a non-native Spanish speaker versus a Spanish speaker, and which one is better and why basically. But I definitely used to think that speaking with non-native Spanish speakers wasn't really good for me, but it actually has been really good. Derek Am, can you do a video showing how you use Meetup for that? Yeah, I could do that. I think right now though, I don't know if I do have any within my community right now. I wish I took a video of the last one that I was at, but it was like a very big group. It was a big group with people of all ages from early 20s up into their 50s from different places around the world, different levels of Spanish, and we're all just kind of telling our stories, telling our journey, our Spanish learning journeys, everything, how do we get basically to our current level and things like that, and what are our plans with studying Spanish as well. It was really cool. I met this one guy, this older guy, who I think he was going to retire, and he was an entrepreneur. So that was pretty interesting. And he was also he used to be a Spanish teacher as well. So you get to meet people like that. I think that's pretty awesome. So there's Meetup, and then trying to think of this. Is there any other places? Like I said, if you do have if you know that you have Spanish speakers within your community, then you can go to different stores. You can go to different stores. Maybe you might have like a Mexican market. I used to have a Mexican market in the old city where I used to live. So that was one place. Just Spanish churches. If you have a community nonprofit organization that is specifically made for the Latino community. I used to volunteer at one of these nonprofits before. So there was a lot of Latinos from Latinos from all over the Spanish speaking world who would come in, and then you didn't have to speak Spanish there, but that's something that I wanted to do so I could practice. I was donating, or not necessarily donating, but I was handing out. We were distributing food out to the Latino community, so that was one way that I was able to or find a place to speak with Spanish speakers. Where else? Yeah, we got stores, nonprofit organizations, discotecas, like where I'm going right now. If you go to a discoteca, you're gonna find, of course, a lot of Spanish speakers there. See, discotecas. Trying to think of where else. There might be some other websites that are similar to Meetup. I just never use them, or I don't know about them, honestly. I would say that's like the main one that I know of where you can actually meet with different groups. I'm sure there's other ones. There's other similar websites, but I know that's like a really popular one that a lot of people are using to meet up for Spanish conversations. Oh yeah, Facebook. You might find some Facebook groups that meet up within your community as well, within your city. So I would check that as well. What kind of Facebook groups are meeting up for language exchange? So it doesn't have to be just for Spanish. It could just be, it could be titled language exchange, and maybe you might find some Spanish speakers there as well. Out of the house, yeah. So yeah, you kind of just have to search within the community for these different areas where there's like a large Latino community, or Spanish speakers. So it kind of just depends on where you live and what you can find. But that would be my advice for that. But then and then also once you do meet, I would say, Spanish speakers for the first time, meet some Latinos in your community, it gets it's really nice because like they'll introduce you to a lot more other Spanish speakers. That's something that's happened to me recently. I met, like I said before, some Cubanos, about like I think 2.5 months ago now, or no, 3 months ago now. And I met a group of three Cubanos at the gym, and then after that, I've met, I think, over seven Cubanos. So I keep meeting more and more Spanish speakers after meeting just like a few of them. So that's been really fun. And yeah, if you can find a discoteca, I'm telling you, discotecas are so much fun. Dancing to Spanish music, speaking with Spanish speakers, that's the way to go. So for the question in the chat, what would you say your level of Spanish is at? We have 5 votes so far. For beginner, principiante, we have 20%, 20%. Intermediate, we have 60%, 60%. And then avanzado, we have 20%. Advanced, we have 20%. So we have a few different ones who are joining. Creo que te vi en short, so eso es TikTok. Sí, dos. Como yo tengo Instagram y también yo tengo TikTok, entonces yo publico varios videos en cada uno. En shorts también, aquí también. Y me encanta grabar videos cortos así que se puede enseñar algo muy rápido de español. Eso me encanta hacer. Me llena con mucha felicidad. Porque yo sé que ella está enseñando en verdad como lo básico de español, cómo pronunciar esta palabra, sabes, como la letra perdida de esta palabra, cosas así, cositas así. Me encanta hacerla. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Eli. Says, I think I saw you in shorts or in TikTok. And yeah, so I'll do a little bit of everything. I have some YouTube shorts that I make, and then I also have a TikTok as well, and then also an Instagram. On TikTok, I post some videos on there. Try to do it weekly, and then also on Instagram, I post some reels. And on Instagram as well, I post a lot of what do you call it? I post a lot on my mi historia, mi historia. I post a lot on my history too. No sé si no sé si eso es como se dice, ¿verdad? Yeah, I think on my history. I'm like getting these applications mixed up. Todas aplicaciones. But I post a lot on my Instagram like daily, a lot. Yeah, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Camden Boldy asks, "Do you know when to use subjunctive after C? Because I know sometimes you're meant to use it and sometimes not." Yeah, I mean, with this, you don't have to. So basically, the to answer your question, you don't have to use the subjunctive after C. For example, you could just say, "Si estudio hoy, uh, yo voy a ir a la biblioteca," or something like that. So you don't necessarily have to use the subjunctive. You could just make it as basic as possible. But when you do want to use a subjunctive, you just put the subjunctive that verb tense right after si. So si fuera, si estuviera, and that's the preterite, the third person. What is it? Yeah, the third person of the preterite, conjugation of that verb. So, for example, do something really simple. So, for comer, the third person conjugation of that would be for él y ella would be. Uh, oh no, sorry. Let me comieron. So yeah, so comer would be comieron for ello, for like they eat, right? So then if you want to use a subjunctive with si, you would say si comiera. Si comiera, if I eat. Eli, hoy estoy aprendiendo subjunctive también. Yeah, subjunctive is kind of tricky, but yeah, that's the way that you would do it. You always cut off what the L, ella, what the L or ella is in the preterite tense. So estuvieron, you cut off the own part, and then you add like an extra ra. You add an extra ra. So estuviera, yo comiera, or if I'm talking about you, I would be si comieras. Si comieras tanta grasa, te engordarías. So that's how that sentence structure would be. It starts with the subjunctive, si estuviera, and then después de eso, and then after that, you would add the conditional. Yeah, then you would add a conditional verb tense, if that makes sense. So that's one way, but then the other way is when this one I actually don't know how to explain very well, but there's another way that you can use this, but it's only in the past, and you're not using like the present at all. So hopefully that makes sense. Si fuera actor, yo tendría mucho dinero. Si tuviera si tuviera mucho dinero, no tendría que trabajar. Si hubiera más dinero en el mundo, nadie sería pobre. So it's this type of this type of sentence structure, and I actually like it. I like it a lot. It's very useful. It's very useful, and you can use it in basically in any kind of conversation that you're having. but it does take some time. I'll definitely recommend making sure you know what that verb conjugation is. I wish I had my verb book right next to me. I don't have it with me. But make sure that you study that, that preterite to the third person plural form of the preterite tense. So again, that's going to be like ellos y ellas, and then ellos y ellas. So basically, it would be like one. It would be like this is the yo form. This is nosotros. This is vosotros, and then it'll be like that last box that you would see like in a verb conjugation chart. So you always use that one for this type of sentence structure, and then you cut off the ron. You cut off the ron ending, and then you add a ra. So no es estuvieron, es estuviera, estuvieran, así. So hopefully that makes sense. So you don't have to use it. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. You can just have it all in the present tense. You can just say si como hoy, si como hoy, yo voy a ser lleno. I'll go and see, like, very simple. It can be just present. You don't have to add the extra conditional format. Camden Body says, dale muchas gracias. No sabía cómo funciona, pero me parece más fácil ahora. De nada. Okay, so this is good. It's actually really good what you just said. So there's subjunctive, right? There's subjunctive. In this case, I was talking about, like, I want to know. I wouldn't say it's like in the present tense. I guess it's in the present tense. No, it's not the present tense. There's two different types of subjunctive. So what you just said right here is no sabía cómo funciona, pero I think you could also say me pareciera, pero me pareciera más fácil. I'm trying to find. I have my book here, and I definitely seen that structure before. But I definitely, okay, like the next time I do this live stream, I'll explain it some more because I have to look it up. There's multiple ways that you can use a subjunctive, of course. There's not just one way that you can use it. Hola, Senku, ¿cómo estás? How are you doing? Ah, estás nuevo o nueva. Qué bueno. How did you hear about the live stream? Déjame saber. Let me know. Déjame saber. We say mierda or mierda. Mierda. ¿Para qué? Depende de qué quieres decir. I don't know what mierda is, but I think you want to say mierda. Está bien. No hay problema. Por ejemplo, si hubiera mejor conexión, no tendría que terminar esta live stream así. It's a really useful sentence structure. I love it. Pasara, si no pasara algo mal, nada sucedería mal. Algo así. That was actually kind of redundant. I'm trying to think of like different verbs that I know how to conjugate. Si levantaría pesas, yo aumentaría el músculo. Okay, entiendo. I mean, by speaking, I bet. Mierda, sí, es mierda. 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 I don't know what mierda is. That maybe because they're from a different country. Maybe this particular whoever your friend is, they're from a particular country that changes that from the D to the L. I'm not sure. I've never seen it written like that before, honestly. Mierda. or that could be a name. Okay, él dice, ¿qué tu nivel en español también? Mi nivel de español, yo diría es avanzado, pero la gramática, yo diría por hablar. Mi forma de hablar, yo diría, es más o menos avanzado, pero mi conocimiento con la gramática de español es más intermedio. Hay un montón para aprender con la gramática, entonces yo me doy esta calificación. Avanzado por hablar y intermedio yo diría intermedio por escribir. There's still a lot of work that I have to do. There's a lot to learn. That's why, like this year, I've been focusing a lot on the basics of Spanish, on the basics of sentence structure, yeah, sentence structure and pronunciation. Like if you see me on Instagram or TikTok or other applications like that, that's what I focus on. I focus on basic, very basic and simple Spanish sentences, and then also very simple and basic Spanish pronunciation. Because you need a you need like a foundation when you're learning Spanish. Because if you try to go from like a complete beginner Spanish learner, a complete beginner Spanish learner, and then you just try to, you try to, how do I put this? You try to like skip levels, you try to, I was maybe like you try to use too much, very like advanced grammar right away. That'll be very difficult for you, and then you're also gonna be missing the basics as well. So you have to make sure like you don't try to go too fast when you're learning Spanish. And it's the same thing with me with like with French as well. With French, I should do the same thing. I tend to like to rush. I don't want to like skip around and try to study things that are a lot more difficult that I don't need to yet because I don't know the basics of the language yet. And the same thing with Spanish. Always focusing on the basics of the language, the basic sentence structure, basic pronunciation. Ahora no hablas, no hablas español, casi como nunca. Nunca hablas español. You don't speak Spanish at all yet. Un minuto. Cinco, no, I will send you a video on Connie and Springer say miela. Yeah, I don't know what miela, honestly. I don't know what mieria. I've never seen that word before. I am not sure what it is. And then ile. Oh, it's an E. Oh, it's an I. My bad. I thought it was an L. Entonces, ¿cómo pronunciar estos nombres? Oh. Bueno, estoy intermedio, pero no hablo. So you're intermediate, but you don't speak yet. Okay. I would say that was me 2 years ago. 2 years, or like the beginning of 2020, I wasn't speaking like at all. I wasn't speaking to Spanish speakers. Neither was I speaking with even by myself until like the middle of 2020. That's when I started to speak a lot by myself. Like right now, I'm narrating what I'm doing. Estoy grabando un video. Estoy en un live stream hablando con ustedes. Y estoy agarrando un libro. Yo estoy abriendo un libro. Estoy leyendo un libro. I started to do that a lot in 2020. But before that, I was never speaking with Spanish speakers. I wasn't speaking by myself. I wasn't narrating. I wasn't imitating Spanish speakers. Nothing like that at all. So, if your goal is to speak Spanish, then you have to speak, and it's very difficult. Sorry, I don't say it's not very difficult. I'll say it's kind of challenging at the beginning. It's challenging at the beginning. If you have a habit, of not speaking, then you kind of have to get that ball rolling. If you think about like a car stops, then it takes like a lot of force for it to go forward. So kind of like that. But once once you get that ball rolling, once you get that car rolling, and you start to get more consistent with speaking, then it becomes a lot easier. Then Senku, I'm not sure honestly. I'm not sure about. He said it Miela. I'm not sure about that. D in Spanish, and I'm not. Yeah, esa palabra me confunda. And then A, I don't know. Just look at this at YouTube. Okay, yeah, I'll check it out later. Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. And then Ayo. I'm gonna start saying Ayo for your name because I don't know how to pronounce or like what name I should be saying for Eio Aeo. Para mí hace 8 meses. ¿Cómo que exactamente? Um, so did you start 8 months ago? Did you start learning Spanish 8 months ago? Empezaste a estudiar español hace 8 meses. If you did, that's amazing because you're just starting on your journey. That's awesome. La reina Kiki, bienvenidos. My 3-year-old started going to a bilingual daycare, and now it's making me speak more to him and myself. I'm hoping my 10-year-old become interested eventually. A-E-A-E-O, claro, en español. No, that's awesome too. That's something that I realized because I have like a lot of nieces and nephews that kids they do learn like deep like pretty fast. I remember I was talking with my niece and I told her actually no I didn't say it. She's like the first time that she like heard me speak Spanish and I just like pointed I know I shouldn't even point I just told her to dame una botella de agua dame una botella de agua. I said that a few times. She didn't know anything I was saying, and then I ended up pointing at a bag of water. Pointed at a bag of water, and then I said, "Dame una botella de agua." And then she went over there, and then she grabbed it. I didn't have to speak any English at all. And then the second time that I did the same exact thing, it was a different day. I said the same exact thing to her. I said, "Dame una botella de agua, por favor." And then she had like a big smile on her face, and then she just like ran over it and got me a bottle of water. So it's like things like that. And like the same thing happened with one of my nephews as well, my other nephew as well. I think he had been like 4 or something like that at the time, or maybe yeah, like 4 or 5. And he didn't know any colors in Spanish at all, so I started to teach him colors, and I basically just did that by pointing at different things, different items. Like I would say, I would tell them to look at this, and then I would say, oh, naranja, or gris, or blanco, or something like that. And then I would repeat it over and over again. And then I would go tell them, go find something that looks like gris. Go find something that looks like naranja. And then at first, like he didn't get it, and then he started to do it. He started to he just like walked up to different items and then he pointed at exactly like the color that I said to him. So it was pretty cool. And and then the second day that I did this with him, it was kind of like the same exact thing. The second day he forgot a few colors, but he got some of them. Like he probably got 2 out of the 5. But yeah, kids they're very receptive. And yeah, it is, yeah. So when you see, yeah, I'll check it out later, Seku, after the live stream to see. Porque no soy capaz de hacerlo ahora mismo. I can't do it right now. And then La Reina Kiki says, I love that. So cool. Yeah. I haven't really taught my nephews or my nieces that much Spanish, like some basic stuff. One of my nephews, I've taught him a lot, like more than that. Like I taught him colors, I've taught him numbers, a little bit of the alphabet, and then some emotions in Spanish as well. and like that was like with like PowerPoint. We went over some PowerPoint slides, and for whatever reason he liked that. He was like 8 years old or something like that, and he was pretty receptive, and he was able to reproduce exactly what I told him. The alphabet he got right away. Like it didn't take him very long to pronounce all the letters correctly, so it was pretty awesome. Ay Dios, esta gente. Quizás es por la tarea, quizás es por la tarea, pero yo no puedo hacer tu tarea, ¿me entiendes? Por lo menos ahora mismo yo no soy capaz de hacerlo. Quizás luego, pero ahora mismo estoy grabando un video en vivo y no puedo. All right, so going back to top chat. Excuse me, not the top chat. The question in the chat. What would you say your level of Spanish is at? We have beginner. We have 38%, 38%. Intermedio, intermediate. We have 50%, 50%. Advanced, avanzado. We have 12%. 12%. In between levels, como medio de las niveles, algo así, tenemos 0%. 0%. And La Reina, if you're still here, si todavía estás aquí, bilingual daycare. I didn't know they had bilingual daycare for like a 3-year-old. That's pretty awesome. So they're starting to speak to them really young then, huh? So La Reina Kiki, I started making them watch their shows in Spanish only. Wow, that's awesome. Especially our Bible stories and songs. So that's awesome. That's the way to do it. Poquito a poquito. Poquito a poquito. ¿Y dónde eres? A-I. Oh, yo soy de Texas. Yo soy tejano. Pero tu última pregunta fue como música. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying. Now you said like a song. A-I-O. Okay, entiendo. La Reina Kiki. Yes, we just moved to Texas and was just lucky to have a bilingual daycare in the neighborhood. Bienvenidos a Texas. O también podemos decir México número 2, Mexico number 2. The bilingual daycare in the neighborhood. So I guess that does. So I guess that does make sense now. I kind of forget about like Latino communities and stuff like that, then they would have it. De Florida de Tejas. Oh, okay, so you probably had like a lot of Spanish and like Spanish speakers in Florida too, I imagine. I haven't really been there before, but they have a lot of. Is it Puerto? They have a lot of Puerto Ricans there in Florida. I forgot like what where like what like the majority como de donde la mayoría de la gente de que habla español viene. A-E-O, mi nombre, says mi nombre. La Reina Kiki, from Florida to Texas. La Reina Kiki, I was learning more Caribbean Spanish and now switching to Mexican. I love both. I just got introduced into Caribbean Spanish last year, like the middle of last year in June. I went to DR for the first time. Huh. Qué interesante. Qué respeto interesante. And then yeah, Mexican Spanish. I've been trying to learn that a little bit as well. I don't know if you see like my other videos. I've been doing like a Spanish podcast with my ITALKI tutor, and she's from Veracruz, Mexico. So I've been learning a decent amount of like of Mexican phrases, and then just about Mexican culture in general. So Mexican vocabulary, and then and then the culture in Mexico. I just talked with her about the music in Mexico. What else we talk about? The indigenous languages in Mexico, because it's very prevalent. Well, not to say very prevalent, but like you can see it. You can see like a lot of the indigenous names and like the city names, for example, like Oaxaca and uh, y Coahuila, and like names like that. So it's like really interesting to see like the influence of indigenous languages in Spanish as well. Like the names of people too, the names of people, names of streets, things like that. And especially like especially being in Texas, there's a there's a obviously there's a obviamente como hay una población super grande o super alta de mexicanos aquí también. Yeah. So yeah, this is a lot to learn when it comes to different dialects and accents within Spanish. Pero La Reina, which one do you think is more difficult to understand so far? La Reina Kika, I've seen them. I also follow you on Instagram as well. You've been very inspirational to me. Oh, that's great. That's really good to know. Because I can't tell all the time honestly if I am. So that's good to know. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to be inspirational as much as possible, especially when it comes to Spanish. So definitely love to motivate people to to reach their language goals and things like that. Because Spanish is difficult. At least when I was like learning on my own, I was learning on my own. Mostly like I didn't have any friends who were learning Spanish. I didn't have any I didn't have any Spanish speaking friends like 2 years ago, really. So I was kind of like alone, with it. So it's kind of nice to be able to so it's kind of nice to be able to have a community with Spanish speakers, because now I feel like there's a lot of big communities for language learners. I'm on Twitter as well. Make sure you follow me on there. I talk, or I just like kind of talk about different language learning stuff on there as well. Talk about my different thoughts, like what I'm studying. Like there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Facebook groups where you can connect with other language learners. There's a lot of applications these days, so I like that a lot. I don't know why I got onto this rant, but I love the language learning community. Everybody's very helpful, and like everybody is I would say like usually pretty friendly, and we're all trying to help out each other. We're all trying to help each other grow, and learn more, learn Spanish or what other language. So I find these language learning communities very nice, comfortable, and very motivational as well. Okay, so AE. I keep this. I always it's so difficult for me because I'm trying to translate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English, so I always get mixed up. Pero AEO says a tu nivel que haces mejorar para mejorar o estudiar. So at my level right now, honestly, how do I put this? I do a lot of different things. the Esa loca para mí. Wait, oh, me imagino que sí. Yeah, I'm at my level. I do a lot of things. So, I'm always trying to improve my speaking skills. I guess we can start like with my speaking skills. So when it comes to speaking, I to help me increase para mejorar mi forma de hablar. I think a lot. I think all day in Spanish, or I try to the best of my ability. Um, what was I saying? Yeah. So I think in Spanish. I've been thinking in Spanish for probably like the past 2 years. I think in Spanish, and that helps me a lot with speaking because now I don't have to, for example, if I want to talk with a Spanish speaker, I don't have to prepare myself like I used to before. I would have to prepare myself for minutes, a few minutes before I could go up to a Spanish speaker and start talking to them because I didn't have any words in my head. But now, since I'm constantly thinking in Spanish, I'm constantly, thinking about different sentences. I'm always practicing like what I'm going to say to someone already in Spanish already. So that's why I don't need to have to go through that phase of like, oh, what should I say? Now it's like instantaneous. If I see a Spanish speaker, I go up to them, I start speaking right away. So that's something that I'm very proud of. That I've worked on a lot over the last 2 years, thinking in Spanish, and because I would say because that's helpful. So that's helpful for speaking. That's also helpful for, I would say, like a way of immersing yourself in Spanish culture. Because if you're a Spanish speaker, right, you're thinking in Spanish. So that's what I mean by that. Really immersing yourself within, the Spanish language, within the Spanish culture. Start to think literally like a Spanish speaker. So that is extremely helpful. And also before, it used to be very difficult for me to speak in Spanish when I was at work. But now even that process is a lot simpler for me to do now as well. Um, because I've been practicing it a lot and a lot, like all the time for the past few years. I've been doing it, and I would also say it can be challenging if you're just starting out to do it because I would say it takes a lot of mental energy to do it because you're still translating from one language to the next, whatever the case, or however you want to describe that. You're trying to think of Spanish words. You're creating sentences in your second language. So it does take energy. It does take your energy, and it takes some concentration as well. Thinking in a second language. So that's something that I try to do as much as possible because it's also a form of me narrating as well, and then also expressing my emotions. If I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, no quiero hacer esto, oh, me siento muy mal, y no quiero levantarme. Es así. Es como, so I do that. So, thinking in Spanish in that way, and then also speaking to myself, like La Reina just says. So I do the same exact thing. I'll come back to your question. I mean, I do a lot of things. And then La Reina Kiki says Mexican is so hard for me because they use orale. Orale, eso es fácil. That one's pretty easy though. Orale, orale, orale pues. Andale pues. Especially at work. LOL. I always say it's most of the guys because the women I can understand more. Okay, I know that's weird. No, yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Guys probably talk like that more. Órale, ándale pues, a sus órdenes, todo eso, yeah. But no, I love the way Mexicans talk like that. Another word is I'll throw it in here, negociante. If you don't know this one already, negociante. Como es una de otras palabras que yo sé que son mexicanos. Pues, oh, this one, you definitely. This one's kind of hard. Yeah, way. They use way. Bato. Bato is like a friend. Bato. Yeah, I think you spelled it correctly. What was I gonna say? Padre, padre. Yeah. They also say madre. They say madre para todo. We have desmadre. That is like I forget what desmadre means. I think it might be like a disaster or something like that. I forget. I think it's like a disaster, desmadre. But yeah, madre is like thrown around like a little bit too much for me for comfort. If you hear like madre like in the U.S. if someone's talking about like saying mother or something like that in the U.S., you're like, what'd you just say? But yeah, they use madre for everything. And then pedo. Oh, ¿por qué no me dijiste eso? Oh, ¿por qué no me dijiste eso? Que inglés es tu segunda lengua, no sabía eso. Pero todavía pienso es extraño que yo pienso en inglés. Y todavía no, tú todavía no piensas en español o en inglés, ¿o qué? En claro que sí, va a ser súper raro, en verdad. Es muy raro para hablar en tu segundo idioma. Como de todos modos. Va a ser difícil, pero te vas a acostumbrar a pensar en inglés, te vas a acostumbrar a hablar inglés también. Entonces, toma tiempo, solamente toma tiempo. Pero, ay, yo, yo esperé que fuera una, que fuera que fuera un mexicano aquí para explicar pedo. La palabra pedo está súper, súper utilizado en México. And there's I don't know what the base definition of pedo is, but they you can use it in a lot of different ways. Like it can mean a fart. Actually, no, I think the base definition is a fart, but it can mean fart. And there's also the word peda, and then peda can mean like una borrachera is what my ITALKI tutor told me about. Una borrachera, peda. The thing I don't like about these words is that some of them sound very como que muy agresivo para mí, agresivas, o esas palabras suenan muy agresivas y también como groseras. Like some of these words are kind of like you wouldn't say to someone who's not your friend. So that's why it gets me really mixed up which ones I should say and which ones I shouldn't say because they kind of sound similar. The ones that are more formal and like the words that aren't formal at all. And you shouldn't be saying them. But I think like a greeting, you could, I can't remember if it's a greeting. It's like, que pedo, que pedo. Like almost como like, que hay, like, you know, like what's going on, I think. Que pedo. But you can use pedo in a lot of different ways. I'm gonna ask my friend about it. Oh, I see what you're saying, but yeah, don't be scared about it. No te temas de esto. No es una no es una grave cosita. No es nada. Solo tienes que practicar, solo tienes que como agregar o por lo menos este oh, eh, espérame. También utilizas esta palabra vas a, vas a oír esta palabra también. That's kind of what they say. I mean, I've heard it a lot from Mexicans. I think they do it in other countries too, but I've heard a lot more from Mexicans when they say It's just like it's like and it's like saying in English. So That's how you sound pretty Mexican too. Using that as a filler word instead of saying Don't say Never say Don't say Don't say Use like that sound. It's a different kind of sound. Don't use use and or pues, bueno, things like that for filler words. That's kind of going on a tangent. But yeah, don't be scared of Mexican Spanish. Aprendiste inglés desde niñez. Qué bueno. Ok, entonces dígame, ¿cuál sería lo más difícil para ti en cuanto a aprendiendo inglés? Pensé esto a la... Sí, pero como es más es más like, it's like more of a filler word. Esto, you would actually use for, it's not really a filler word. It's just like a regular word. You know what I mean? Like, like you're talking about a specific item. Esto, or esto, like that. Como esto ahí, esto allá, esto, that kind of thing. So it's less of a filler word. It's more of like an actual word. I mean, este is a sorry, este is a real word too. But I hear it more as a filler word. Esto, I don't usually hear as a filler word that much. Maybe it is. I could be completely wrong. I haven't heard esto used as a filler word much. Let me think. Esto, yeah, no, it's mostly like este. Esto is usually like when you're actually talking about something. No, yeah. Tengo que beber agua porque yo tengo sed. Yeah, I would say they say that and también, and they say this. Eso. They say that too. Eso. I like that one a lot. I say that all the time because you can use it. Yeah, you can use it like basically, a lot of different sentences. I like using that one a lot. Something cool that just happened. Eso. This person is dancing. Eso. Someone just got married. Eso. Use it for everything. Oh no, I'm not sure. Maybe they could have been using esto también. Maybe they could have been using esto as well. I don't know, but I know eso is used a lot. I also learned a lot on. Surprisingly enough, I learned a decent amount of like colloquial Spanish on TikTok. TikTok, because there's a lot of native Spanish speakers on there, and they use a lot. They use a lot of colloquial words and phrases on TikTok, and like a lot of that stuff, a lot of the things on TikTok, on like Spanish TikTok, like you wouldn't understand unless you're like really a part, not really a part of it, but unless like you kind of studied more like the culture of certain countries and things like that, because like like their jokes, like in jokes are usually tied to like the culture or different trends that are going on within that particular country. So TikTok is hilarious. I love TikTok when it comes to learning Spanish. Never thought I would ever use it for that. Never thought I would download TikTok to learn Spanish. I was always against TikTok. Then I started watching more of the Spanish TikTok, and I kind of fell in love. Ocho votos. So you find me on my. ¿Cómo me encontraste? Did you find me on my? Yeah. How did you guys find me? Find my channel? How did you guys hear about this live stream? La Reina says, "Do you listen to any good podcasts right now?" Honestly, for Spanish, I don't know. I don't listen to too many podcasts. Recently this year, um, yeah, just because I mean, there's so many things I'm like focusing on right now. That's why it's hard for me to do, use multiple resources. But I can give you some of the ones that I have saved or not saved, like the ones that I follow on Spotify. I'll say the only ones I really listened to this year for a Spanish podcast is just one Dominican one. It's called Gamers RD Podcast, but like I've only listened to maybe a few episodes this year. But I have not been listening to too many. I haven't been listening to too many podcasts. I've mostly been just watching YouTube videos this year because I got onto YouTube this year. So, oh, that's awesome, La Reina. That's good to know. I guess YouTube is doing good for me then. It's doing good for getting me out there. But here's if you like the entertainment industry, if you like the video game industry, the movie industry, this one is one you may enjoy. They're Dominicans, hence Gamers RD. So Gamers República Dominicana. They have a lot of good episodes. You can learn a lot of good vocabulary related to like entertainment. They talk about like the first one I see right here. The most recent one is Sony sube el precio de la PS5. ¿Cuál es la razón? So Sony increased the price of their video game console. What is the reason? So they talk about a lot of different topics like that, not just about like actual video games, not like just about video game reviews. They have movie reviews, TV show reviews. They have they have video game reviews. They talk about like the industry as a whole. So the entertainment industry and the video game industry. It is not just strictly like just about gamers. and not just about like specific video games. Like, oh, we're gonna review this video game today. It's not just about that. So that's why I like this particular this particular podcast. Like this other episode here is about Disney Plus. Um, a new series of Daredevil will come to Disney Plus. They talk about that. So they have a lot of different episodes. I like them. Oh, I think I listened to this one actually. Elon Musk compra Twitter, les conviene a los usuarios. So this one's about Elon Musk buying Twitter. So they have a variety of different topics that they talk about. So that's one. That's one probably the first ever Spanish podcast I'd ever listened to, and I just love it a lot. Let's see what else. But as far as like me actively listening to a podcast this year in Spanish, I have not. Mostly French because I'm learning French right now. This one you probably will enjoy as well, and these two. This one's a very very popular and well known Spanish podcast. I would say among the Spanish learning community. How to Spanish. Oops. Yeah, How to Spanish podcast. This one I love a lot. I honestly can't imagine how these two have so much knowledge. They talk about so many different topics like cómo mejorar tu español en 2022. How do you increase your Spanish? They talk a ton about Mexican culture, a lot about Latino culture también. Cómo hablar sobre música. How do you talk about music? That's actually something that I would like actually, because I don't have too much vocabulary when it comes to talking about music. Cosas mexicanas raras para los extranjeros. What are some strange things about Mexicans that sorry, trying to translate. Basically, strange things that Mexicans do that are strange to foreigners. Let's see what else. La guerra que nos cambió. What was the war that changed us? So talking about in Mexico. So some war in Mexico that happened. ¿Quiénes fueron los mayas? Who were the Mayans? So this one, I love this podcast a lot. That one's really good. That one's completely in Spanish. I don't know what your level is. You love history? Yo también. Sí, odd. Oh yeah, thanks, EO. Oh, or AE. Raro means odd, like odd or strange, I believe. Odd, strange, weird. Weird could be another word too. Weird, odd, strange. Como son casi son la misma palabra. So yeah, if you like history, you'll enjoy that podcast. I'm a upper beginner, slowly moving into intermediate. Okay. Let me guess. Oh, no, let me guess. Okay. AE, por favor, explicas otra vez lo que esto o esto. Ok, entonces, lo que Rena dijo antes es que en Florida, donde vivía antes, la persona que viven ahí dijeron eso muchas veces. Ya tú sabes qué es eso, como una expresión de agradecer, no, una expresión de, ¿cómo se dice? De felicidad, como por lo que se ha pasado, como hay una boda de mis hermanos o de uno de mis amigos, algo así, y yo digo eso, así, como ese tipo de expresión, como eso fue la única cosa que ella estaba diciendo sobre ese tema. Y yo dije que ella debería utilizar la palabra porque eso es como una palabra para llenar espacios en una frase. Por ejemplo, en vez de diciendo lo que decimos en los Estados Unidos, por lo menos, como utilizamos mucho de en para llenar los espacios, las brechas en una frase y entre las frases también. utilizamos mucho and yo digo, no diga eso, dice en lugar de decir estos otros sonidos, porque la sonida o la palabra de como digan los latinos. Entonces vas a sonar más como latino diciendo este tipo de sonido, este tipo de palabra, así. Por ejemplo, si estás pensando por mucho tiempo, yo voy a decir esto. Este, hmm, no estoy seguro, así. Eso fue la única cosa que yo estaba tratando, por lo menos, tratando de explicar. En México sí, y no puedo decir por cada otro país en Latinoamérica, pero en México sí, utilizan mucho ahí para llenar las brechas en las frases. Okay, then La Reina, I'm upper beginner, slowing, moving into intermediate. So I got to get more detail with these questions. So how about for your, let me ask, like, do you read in Spanish? Do you, and like, what do you listen to? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to YouTube? Are you listening to like only Spanish content only? Like, like fully Spanish and not in English at all? Or where you at with that? And then with speaking as well, are you speaking a lot in Spanish? Are you not? Oh wait, I forgot. Let's see. Um, let's see. Antes dijiste algo diferente. Okay, because yeah, la realidad, because you said antes que I find that I'm fluent when I speak to myself, but when I speak out loud, I start missing words, lol, and I'm still translating. It's so annoying. La Reina Kiki, there was a song with Maluma and a French girl named Aya something, and after hearing it was like, oh, I have to learn French next, but that's in the future. Yeah, I want to. I started learning French at the beginning of this year, and honestly, you're gonna find that it's actually some things are difficult. Like there's a lot of accent marks and like weird, like a lot of two-letter words and things like that. That's kind of that's kind of challenging. But you're gonna find a lot of similarities in between Spanish and in between Spanish and in between French. For example, the C in French is esto. The C in Espanol is esto. Um, so there's a lot of similar verbs. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I think like to drink in French is like this or something close to that, and then in Spanish, beber, beber. It's like that. So there's a lot of similarities in between both of the languages. So it's actually for me, it feels like if you're like cheating in class. That's how I feel when I'm learning French with Spanish because they're very similar. Some of the words, not everything, and then like some of the pronunciation is really weird in French, but sometimes the endings sometimes the endings are very similar to Spanish and English. Like transportation, is transportation in English, and then Spanish is transportación. I have to force myself to say it because in French it's transportación. So like the ending is very similar. It's kind of hard to distinguish with like those different sounds. Transportación and then transportación, something like that. I don't know how to do like a French accent. Then like La Reina says, La Reina Kiki says, I don't use grammar enough for intermedio. But if I take a test, I'm A2. I'm clearing La Escuela del Bien, del Mal. I'm doing well. I'm on chapter 5. Oh, great. Let me look up this book. I have never heard of it before. And then to answer your question, yes, este is a filler. Do you know what I mean by that? I mean like a filler word. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. So like if for example, I haven't done it for all my friends. I erased some of my flashcards. I messed them up. But for my flashcards here, I have this word here. Oh, here's another one. Oh, you can't. I think it's flipped right now. But I have French on this side, and then on this side it's Spanish, and that actually helps out a lot because, like you just said, you don't ever have to go to English, so that's really helpful. And the same thing with my note cards. Do I have a note card right here? Yeah. I have my note card here, and then at the top I have the French word, and then at the bottom I have the Spanish word, and then I'll just whatever, put that wherever, wherever I'm trying to study. La peli in YouTube se llama Nubes Rojas. Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks for that resource. I never heard that before either. I actually haven't watched many Spanish movies this year at all. Actually, unfortunately. But yeah, but with French, it's really nice. There, you can find a decent amount of YouTubers, on YouTube who are native Spanish speakers, but are teaching French. So that's actually really fun, and it's very very helpful. Like I said, because you don't have to go back to English, and then, you don't have to do any of that. For some things I do, of course, for grammar and stuff like that. I use English sometimes. If I'm using Duolingo, I have no choice. It has to be. I can't change that to Spanish. I've tried. Maybe I can try. But with Duolingo, I have my phone in Spanish, but then if I use Duolingo and I'm learning French, then it's going to be in English. It's not going to be in Spanish. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Use as much Spanish as I can to learn French. And then yeah, let me give you this other verb here. We have pensar, which is to think in Spanish, and then to think in French is penser. I don't know how to pronounce that word though. English or French, using Spanish or French. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do with French. I've been kind of inconsistent with French though. That's been a battle to keep up. And let me try to give you another Spanish podcast. Let me see what else I have. I like Doorway to Mexico. Oh yeah, then back to what you said about Maluma. I don't listen to Maluma that much. I don't know what song that is. There's the I think this is by Maluma. There's one song I really like. I really like from Maluma. That's made by him, and that's una mujer como tú. Algo así. Let me look it up. Una mujer como tú. Déjame poner mi Wi-Fi. Casa de Flores. Como yo escribí. Maluma. I think that's Maluma. Is it? He's from Colombia. Yeah, he's from Colombia, right? Oh no, I'm thinking of Manuel Turizo. I'm thinking of someone else. Dijada. I love the French part. Dijada. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look. Wait, Dijada? Dijada by. Okay, yeah, there she is. Y pensé sobre aprender otro idioma después un año. Is going to think about learning another language in a year. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't plan on stopping with Spanish. The only reason why I would stop with Spanish is just so I can focus specifically on, all the different countries, not in every single one, but other different countries and things like that more. Because if I'm learning two languages at one time, then I'm trying to learn about the culture. the pronunciation with with the French speaking countries or whatever. But with Spanish, it's like the same thing. If I'm just learning Spanish, I can focus more on the different Spanish speaking countries. If I'm learning more than one, that takes time away. So it's I mean, it's like a good it's a good trade off. I mean, you can't go wrong with either one. It's like, oh, I'm still learning a language. So I think after French, I want to get conversational with French, and then after French, I want to start learning. I think German will be my next language. I was gonna try to do like try to get conversational every single year with like one language, and try to become a polyglot. I don't think that's gonna happen, like because of time and stuff like that. Pero me encantaría ser un polyglot. Me encantaría saber como 5 idiomas o 4 idiomas. It sounds really fun because like from what I've heard, at least like from my sister-in-law and from one of my other friends, she speaks I think 4 or 5 languages, like 5 languages, something like that. Like they don't know, like once you have that many languages under your belt, you don't know what language you're thinking in. I was like, what? You don't know what language you're thinking in? I'm like, I can't even imagine that. Claro, sí, porque tomo tiempo para dedicarte a estudiar a un idioma, mucho tiempo, y dependiendo de qué tipo de nivel que tengas llegar o el tipo de nivel que quieres lograr, eso también toma mucho tiempo. Si quieres ser avanzado en español, va a tomar tiempo, ya tú sabes. La Reina Kiki says, AE says, sí, no, it's fácil, it's not easy. La Reina Kiki asks or says, I tried to read the Ali Richards books in Spanish, but for some reason I can't get past the second story, and I also have it on my Audible for the pronunciation. ¿Verdad? ¿En serio? O sea, ya he terminado este libro. Actually, I finished the first one already. Well, not already, but I mean, I finished the first one for Spanish, so like the beginner one, short stories in Spanish for beginners. I finished that one. I have right now on my bookshelf short stories in Spanish for intermediate learners, and I think he came out with another version. Actually, I'm pretty sure he did. I think I saw that on Instagram. Let me see. Holly Richards, Spanish. Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, I have the intermediate one. I've been saying for a while that I'm going to learn it, but I haven't done it yet. I'm very inconsistent when it comes to reading. Oh, maybe he did. I thought he had another one. Maybe not. I mean, he does have other books in Spanish. Like he has World War II in simple Spanish, World War One in simple Spanish, Western philosophy in simple Spanish. So I mean, he has a lot of books. It's awesome. La Reina Kiki also have my phone in Spanish too, and it keeps changing my English text to Spanish, which is fine when I'm texting someone who speaks Spanish, but my family think I'm being extra. Qué loco. Puede ver el libro. I don't want to get it. Let me see. Dame un minuto. Tengo estos dos. Y voy a traer 3 libros que yo tengo. Uno, esto acá, Short Stories in Spanish. Espérate un minuto, por favor. No me estás diciendo que no lees en español, porque no, tienes que hacerlo. Tienes que hacerlo. Es una de las mejores cosas que puedes hacer en tu tiempo libre por la buena salud mental, para mejorar tu educación, de todo, para aumentar tu cantidad de vocabulario, para aprender nuevas cositas, un poquito de todo. What I got, yeah, I feel like I said already. Short stories in Spanish for beginners. For Ali Richards, I have this one, and then I have short stories in Spanish for intermediate learners. tú sabes, entonces, ponte, ponte a leer. Empieza hoy. O por lo menos lees como artículos españoles, artículos, se me olvidó cómo se dice magazine, o los cómics, algo, aparte de los libros en español. ¿Qué lees? Aparte de los textos. And I have, let's see, I have these two in the description box, like links to these two books in the description box. Short stories in Spanish for beginners and for intermediate learners. And then I have, I think, some other one too. This book I just picked up. Yo soy, pero no tiempo. No tiene tiempo. Sí, claro que. Mira, eso es mi excusa también, que yo no tengo tiempo, pero yo tengo tiempo porque, mira, estamos acá en un video, en un video en vivo. Tenemos tiempo para leer un libro. No tomo como tanto tiempo, solo tienes que leer como 1 o 2 páginas al día. Espera, ok, vamos a hablar sobre esta cosita. Esto es una locura. Aún no puede. Let me go back to this first. He says your family thinks that you're being extra. It's funny because even if you let me see my phone. If you like do the exclamation mark, exclamation point. Let's see. If you're responding to someone's text message, yeah, you have like the haha gets changed to jaja, or haha, whatever, but in Spanish. And then if I do a heart, or if I like receive like a heart or something like that from my friend, it's gonna say like le gusto su mensaje. So it's gonna give you like a Spanish message. So I like that too. Let's see. Yeah, I can't see it. I can only see it the translation when they send it to me. And the same thing when people when I meet new people and they put their number in my phone, it's in Spanish. Some people I don't think realize that it's in Spanish. They just like rush through it and they're not even thinking, and they know exactly where to touch. But other people, they completely lost. Lorena says, I had that one too. I can't understand it yet. You can't understand this one yet. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know how different it is from the beginner one. I don't know how different it is. Pero sí, eso solamente toma tiempo para aumentar tu vocabulario y también tu comprensión de vocabulario, como lo básico, la definición, qué significa en contexto y todo eso. Toma tiempo, como de todo en la vida. The other book that I have is, I really want to finish this one too. Yo no soy tu hija mexicana perfecta. Bueno, yo no soy tu perfecta hija mexicana. I picked it up because I think like the cover looks like really cool. It's colorful. But the book I'm reading right now is Corazón tan Blanco, escrito por Javier Maria. So this is written by a Spanish author, which is good, which is in line with my goals because I'm actually trying to develop a Castilian accent. So this is great that there is vocabulary, like related from Spain. I would assume so. And then also when I'm reading, I always try to use and try to imitate a Castilian accent. For example, if I'm reading, I'll just go like, yo hablo y entiendo y leo 4 lenguas, incluyendo la mía, y por eso supongo me he dedicado parcialmente a ser traductor o intérprete en congresos, reuniones, encuentros, sobre todo políticos, y a veces de nivel más alto. En 2 ocasiones he hecho de intérprete entre jefes de Estado. So that's terrible, I know, but I just started with the Castilian accent, so don't make fun of me too much. No, no burlas de mí. No burlas de mí. La reina, no soy tu mexicana, no soy tu mexicana perfecta. Also, I read it with the audiobook. Oh, really? You got it too? En serio? For pronunciation help? That's awesome. Espérame, tengo que cagar. Ay, cagar mi computadora. Porque la batería está bajando. Ahí está. Ok, un minuto, por favor. Déjame cerrar estas pestañas. Ahí está. No soy tu México perfecta also. Oh, you read it already, so you're not reading it. Okay. How'd you like that book? So, okay, if you, I don't know, how did you understand that? How did you understand that book, but you don't understand the Ollie Richards book? I feel like the Ollie Richards book would be a lot simpler than this one. I don't know. I haven't read this one yet. A la salida de la escuela, Lorena y yo vamos a su casa para curiosear en internet. I have no idea what that verb means. That's a new one. La tarde de sábado le digo a Ama que iré a la biblioteca. Oh yeah, this one doesn't seem like super crazy so far. I mean, obviously, of course, I'm like skimming through it, but I'm just like from the words, I don't see any like very crazy verbs or anything like that. Aburridas. ¿Cuál es el crimen? No me. Oh, ya me arte de los murmullos. Sorry, I'm like, don't let me get started reading because I won't stop. So let me stop reading before I just like ignore y'all. And you need to be watching me reading. En serio, he estado todo mi tiempo estudiando español en línea. ¿Cómo así? No entiendo qué dijiste exactamente. ¿Puedes repetir, por favor? O decirlo en otra forma. ¿Cómo has gastado todo su tiempo estudiando español en línea? ¿Cómo así? ¿Cómo no has leído algo físico? ¿Cómo así o no? Me equivoco. La Reina, that's the one I was telling you I didn't understand. But I've heard it 3x on the Audible and understand the gist of it. Actually, it was kind of sad. Wait, espérame. La Reina, what do you mean? Wait, which one are you talking about again? So which one do you find difficult to understand? Estoy un poco confundido. Perdóname. Mientras tomo agua. Tenemos muchos estudiantes intermedios que han votado en la encuesta. ¡Oh! Eres africano. Eres de Igbo. Igbo es un tribu. Espérame. Wait. Your first language. Yo dijiste que. Oh. Español es tu tercer idioma, entiendo. Pero eres afroamericano, ¿verdad? Ajá. De Nigeria. O quizás de otro país. pero yo sé que este tribu, como hay muchas personas de ese tribu que viven en Nigeria. La Reina, what is your first language? You learned English since 9, and your language Spanish, right? Then also the Mexican hija was hard for me to understand. For Ollie, I only had the beginner short stories. Okay, I get it. And I couldn't get past the second story. My bad, I was trying while you were talking. 40% Yoruba. Yoruba. Eso es un étnico de Ethiopian. Yo no sé. No tengo ni idea, en verdad. Yo crecí aquí en los Estados Unidos y no sé nada. Okay, so you said you couldn't get past the second story of short stories in Spanish for beginners. Okay, so you struggle with that a little bit. And honestly, I would say that the language in this is I would say kind of challenging. I won't even lie. España, and I think the whole book actually is the whole book is written from a dialect in Spain, from a part of Spain. So that's something to keep in mind as well. The dialect is from I forget what specific part of Spain, but the dialect is from Spain. The dialect of Spanish that this book is written in. I don't know about the intermediate version though. And it should say at the beginning. It'll tell you exactly what dialect that it is. I forgot because it's a particular name. Oh, here it is. The Peninsular Spanish is a type of Spanish spoken in the Iberian Peninsula. So the Peninsular Spanish, like even that one, like before I read this book, I had no idea what that even was. So Peninsular Spanish, oops, according to Wiki, is a set of varieties of the Spanish language spoken in Peninsular Spain. Peninsular Spain, as opposed to the Americas, the Canary Islands, and the Equatorial Guinea, Guinea Equatorial in Spanish. Because even with Spain, they speak it differently depending on where you are as well. So it varies. La Reina, I think it was. I couldn't focus on the story. I had to restart the book so many times I gave up. Really? It was that challenging for you? Wait, which book was harder? ¿Cuál libro fue lo más difícil para leer para ti? Short stories in Spanish or La hija mexicana? All right, La Reina, to go now, but thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful and blessed week. Yep, you as well. Igualmente. Challenge is boring. Entiendo. Tiene sentido. Okay, adiós, cuídate. Muchas gracias por venir. Thanks for coming. Y son las 5. Sabe un montón de idiomas. Sí, esto es bien chulo, en verdad. Aprendió 3 idiomas. Qué suerte. Pero bueno, también, AE, do you have any other questions? Actually, I have a question for you. How did you find my channel? AE, ¿qué es A nivel otra vez? So, ella tiene un nivel Ella dijo como intermedio, como entre principiante y entre intermedio. So she said upper intermediate. Yeah, upper intermediate is what she said. But like, it depends on what you're referring to. It could be like, are we talking about reading? Are we talking about speaking? Um, I don't know. She says she speaks a lot in Spanish, other Spanish speakers. Reading, she sounds like she's probably like a beginner intermediate level. And the listening comprehension, I'm not sure. I can't tell from what she said. But yeah, how did you find my channel, and what do you think about, like, what type of videos do you like so far? That's something that I would love to know. Ah, mis shorts, okay. Como eso es como me encontraste. Ok, bueno. Entonces, están funcionando entonces para promocionar mi canal, qué bueno. ¿Y has visto mis videos largos también, o solamente los cortos? Have you seen my longer videos too, or just the short ones? How do I get out of this? Ay, ay, ay. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Por qué no se mueve? Espérame. No mucho. Tienes que, like, como, like, what other, do you watch other, like, long form content on the YouTube, or do you only watch short stuff on YouTube for learning Spanish? Oh, wow, that's awesome. Yeah. Te aprecio tanto. Muchas gracias por venir. And thanks for being como activo también in a live stream. Thanks for being active too. Oh, you want? Okay, miras todo. Okay, that's awesome. I've been watching a lot of YouTubers on, like, that are, like, within, like, the Spanish sort of community. A lot. Spanish with Paul. I think I've heard of him before. Espanol con Juan. I watch a lot of his videos. He's hilarious. Él es súper, súper chistoso. Espanol con Juan. Y también como que, yeah, como siempre está haciendo chistes o diciendo chistes y explica con mucho detalle. Por eso me interesa ver sus videos, porque habla con mucho detalle de todo que está vistiendo en cualquier momento o viendo en cualquier momento. Nate Adventure, I watched his videos for the first time this year. I never seen his channel before until this year. He has some cool stuff too. I like how he does the like, he's been learning a lot of Mexican Spanish. That's pretty cool too. He does like a lot of videos with ah, I don't know, it's like with different people, I guess. Different Spanish speakers and stuff. I forget on what platform though. Simple Spanish teacher stories. Okay. Sí, las historias son buenas. Y hay un montón de profesores que contar historias. Hay un montón para que para que desarrolles tu comprensión auditiva y también para que aprendas más vocabulario en la forma de historias. It's a really good way to increase your vocabulary. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and share my YouTube channel with your friends. Y también I'm on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok too, so I try to be active on there. Telemundo Noticias, yo también. I read a lot of their articles, or either articles. I watch a lot of news. I like doing that as well. It's really helpful. Está súper útil. Y también como estás como, ¿cómo se dice? Estás aprendiendo más de lo que hay en los países de Latinoamérica. Entonces, como puedes saber qué está pasando en esos países, como diferentes eventos o tormentas o lo que sea de la política y cosas así, me encanta. Yeah, there are. It's good too. I like how many YouTube channels there are for learning Spanish. I like that a lot, and I like how that there's so many passionate people who want to teach it as well. Oh yeah, and the Butterfly Spanish. I don't know if you heard about her. She's very popular on YouTube. She has a lot of views. Butterfly Spanish. She has like more classroom style videos where she's like on a whiteboard teaching Spanish. I really like I will watch her videos a lot. Like that's my type style of learning. Even right now, I like looking at whiteboards and like seeing the words and then having her explain them is really helpful for me. Déjame ver. I thought I had. Espérame. I love YouTube. YouTube is amazing. Has made everything so much easier. Sí, como es la mejor forma de aprender español. Solamente necesitas la regla, claro que sí, solo lo básico, la foundación, la base del idioma, el básico o el básico de la regla, de las reglas de gramática, cómo conjugar los verbos, aprender sobre palabras de tradición, no, not tradición, de transición, como las preposiciones y todo eso. De, a, los pronombres, se, me, te, o, nos, os. There's a lot of rules. Pero muchas gracias por venir. Llegamos al final de esta live stream. Thanks for coming to this live stream. I think I want to end it now because I had to get ready to dance a little bit para bailar. I have a dance class, salsa dance class tonight, so I'll be going. So that'll be really fun. Otra forma para aprender español. Oh, claro que sí. Estamos aprendiendo español por toda la vida. Learning Spanish, you know, for the rest of your life. That's the new life. Always learning every single day. Sí, de nada. Thank you again for coming. I really enjoyed the conversation and thanks for all the questions. And I hope I was able to help out with some of your questions as well. and able to help you, as much as I could. If not, I will try to do better next time. Pero muchas gracias. Y que tengas una buena noche o día o mañana. Y nos vemos pronto. And continue to watch my videos too. And hopefully they'll help you as well. My short videos or my long long videos. Hasta luego. Y también to all the people who will be watching the replay as well. Thanks for watching. Thank you for all your support. Y nos vemos. Hasta luego.